Copyright 2022, Kenneth Flanders Jr. Narrated by Paulina. This is a work of fiction. Names, characters, places, and incidents either are the products of the author's imagination or are used fictitiously. Any resemblance to actual persons, living or dead, businesses, companies, events, or locals is entirely coincidental. Printed in the United States of America. First printing, 2022. Chapter 1. An Unusual Fox's Beginning. A middle-aged, blonde-haired Kitsune was pacing back and forth outside a medical ward, restless and panicking from the pained shrieks of the woman inside the other room next door. Each shriek, each monumental growl for salvation beckoned the blonde Kitsune, but he knew not to saunter on to her cries, for fear had rid him of all his feats and accolades to this point. This display of uncertainty, fretfulness, and perturbance from the Kitsune drew dissemination from the octave of a woman adorned in alluring ivory dresses. The woman within the room bellowed in a jolting manner while suffering all at once. The male Kitsune could almost feel her pain. His chest tightened up from anxiety, and the pressure around him slowly but surely began to rise as though the air was trying to crush him from all directions. Still, the sisters of the Ennead to his circle of mates were far more taken aback by his unorthodox behavior.
Does he not believe in her strength? Does he think that the creature will bring her down?
One of the maidens murmured, so only the nearest of ears could hear.
I do not fault him for worrying. I wouldn't be able to go through with this ritual either. This is unspoken of, unprecedented even. This is not natural,
a smaller petite Kitsune remarked.
That's why you weren't chosen, Rena. You don't have the backbone for anything. Never have, never will.
Hush, Vixen. We should try and comfort him instead of bickering amongst each other.
Nurses suddenly rushed about the area. One halted before Conan to allow him and anyone who desired to enter permission. Conan was hesitant at first, looking down at the ground before he shifted his full attention from his one-life mate to the other 8, all looking at him expectantly. A single nurse stood outside the room, eyeing the group of Kitsune waiting in the lobby, confused beyond belief. Indeed, she was young to comprehend how Pangea operated solely on polyamorous relationships, especially in Kitsune clans like this one. Still, she was well beyond her element regarding their strength. To the Kitsune, and any other type of Nekoma, polyamorous relationships were seen as a sign of strength for the male, a status emblem to elevate one's significance in a harsh and dangerous world such as Pangea. Indeed, they'd be the same for her race of Nekoma in the elven kind. Conan's disquieted state did not cease despite his eyes focusing on the elf nurse, scared to enter the room. One of his beloved mates finally exited the circle she was within, bringing her arms around Conan in a light embrace.
Calm down, Conan, my love. It's for the greater good. Hurrit will survive, and we shall show our strength while we wait. No point in worrying.
This elegant Kitsune, whose clothes were tinted with purple and pastel blue, yet lit with a pristine white, brought what she believed were comforting words to her life mate's self-induced conflict, only to be rejected by a subtle push from him. Her stare fell, but her resolve did not waver. She moved her hand to grasp his, which drew another of this male's life mates over.
Kimmy's correct. We should try to calm down.
Calm down? Vixen! What if our tinkering with life tips of the gods?
Conan shouted, drawing all eyes onto him, even the scared nurse waiting just outside with them. Conan refused to be taken by Kimi or settled down by the approaching Vixen. He paced a few feet away from the two, his words ebbing past lips, more of his mindset now fully enveloping the octave of life mates.
Then what shall we do? Not only that, but Hurrit is the one who was suffering there. I adore you all equally, and I do not wish for her nor the experiment to go awry. You cannot possibly understand what I'm feeling or thinking.
Again, he paused. This time his eyes darted every which way half expectedly, only to see nothing, feel nothing but what he had been this entire time. Instantly, he returned to face his group of life mates and posed a query.
What if she doesn't obey us? Our whole kin will be wiped, gone for good, eradicated. Whether it's it or the gods will fall. Do we not? I've made a mistake. Yes, I've made a mistake.
Another of his mates stepped forward. This one was lithe, slightly bustier than the others, and had a rosy golden blonde bob cut. The way she stepped forward formed more dominance over the others, which demanded Conan's attention once she had done so.
Do not speak that way, my love. You make no mistakes. We make no mistakes. Do you not believe in our prowess with magic? You have not only the finest of women, but also the finest of spell weavers. You have Hurit, Vixen, Nikita, Kimi, Rena, Charon, Fifyan, Alawa, and me, Dina. And not a soul within your marriage circle is a failure. We do not settle for mistakes, and you shouldn't expect it either.
Conan was still fuming despite having heard Dina's words. Her words typically came out as arrogant, and though they had a hint of it, Conan started to settle down. It helped that Vixen also gestured for Conan to quiet down, stroking his hair and ears. It was a matter of minutes before he finally calmed, letting go of his shoulders, but not for too long, when his expression turned into worry again.
My dear, do not underestimate the magic my sisters and I possess. Should the experiment attempt to wreak havoc over us, we will make it known to the thing she submits to.
Dina stated.
Look around. Who keeps the peering eyes of the gods at bay with forbidden spells? Only the finest of women and magic users, married to the most powerful of the Kitsune.
Conan's gaze fell right back onto his mates, each radiant in more ways than one. Dina was right, and Conan felt guilty for displaying what he believed was weakness. His steely stare reverted onto Vixen, then back onto Dina.
But will she understand? If she understands her capabilities, then we're no more than just specks of the dust waiting to be swept away by her might. She'll easily crush us if she adheres to the knowledge of being far superior to us. Then what? Does this not worry you an ounce?
There you go again, my love. We feel underestimated. You didn't choose your mistresses for anything. We can send the creature back to the darkness she had been conjured within. Trust us as we've trusted you with all these experiments.
Vixen pleaded, drawing soft, seductive orbs on her life mate, though she drew him closer with her eyes. What indeed called to him was the last of her dialogue. If it weren't for his ideals, his pursuit of immortality and strength, he wouldn't be in this predicament. He wouldn't be pacing like a caged lion. The octet of life mates was also there through thick and thin, and he couldn't turn back. He could not take anything back like a certain someone he once was close to. What was done could not be undone, yet his killer glare emerged.
Watch what you say, you arrogant fool.
Conan growled.
You and your sisters cannot fight our daughter, even when using just a quarter of her abilities. Her strength is akin to the gods. Why do you not comprehend this is the sole reason why I've been a mess when normally I'm not?
Vixen's worried gaze turned into anger.
Fool? How dare you call me that, you?
Her cursing was abruptly interrupted when one of the nurses in the room came out.
We need your help,
the nurse said with urgency, drawing quite the gazes of each Kitsune within the lobby.
The baby is seemingly utilizing some form of transmutation magic. She's cutting her up from the inside. Mistress Hurit might not make it.
Conan and Vixen rushed inside the room when those words were uttered. The rest of the life mates huddled close to the door upon it being shut, maintaining the faint glow of mana they provided for their inconspicuous forbidden barrier. Inside the room, a ball of light was suspended above Hurit. The Kitsune mistress was soaking with sweat, and her body was draped in cloth. Her breath was heavy, ragged, and reaching for deliverance from the torture she was enduring. The other 8 sisters finally managed to enter the room encircling Hurit, chanting to maintain the ball of light in the air. The sphere flickered as soon as they began to add other mana, crackling now and then as the baby was closer to appearing. Conan couldn't help with the spell, so he helplessly stood at the doorway after entering. As ironic as it was, he was praying to the gods that Hurit would live after her delivery. But something dragged his heart to the pits of the abyss below.
I think we should split now, or we will lose Hurit.
The brunette Kitsune Charon chanted,
breaking a small bead of sweat rolling down her forehead as she was the first switch to her appointed task of healing Hurit. Fifion, another voluptuous blonde Kitsune, a bit taller than the others, yet just correct for her life mate, nodded, following suit in her sister's change-up. A faint ivory glow manifested around Hurit's form that blazed even more around the baby's body within Hurit. The healing was now intact. Conan's statuesque state came to a shattering once he heard Charon's proposition. His eyes widened, knowing the repercussions of his life mate's splitting duties. Sure, Hurit would be hurriedly healed while continuing to give birth, but that meant less magic would be poured into the forbidden spell previously held up.
We can't hold on for much longer.
Nikita, a red-headed Kitsune, with a singular French braid running down her back, gasped. Her arms were shaking as she started to lower them down towards Hurit. Nikita was not the only Nikoma to begin lowering her arms, close to surrendering to fatigue. Despite all the sisters being excellent spellcasters, they were all simultaneously feeling magic exhaustion. The forbidden spell, alongside the healing spell, was eating away at their mana faster than they could withstand. Conan bit his lower lip, unable to use an ounce of his mana, for if he did, he understood should the baby go berserk out of the womb, and he'd have to put it down as swiftly as he could. He was put between a rock and a hard place. It was almost as though he was destined to lose in this instance.
Girls, just a bit more.
Rena encouraged in a faint panic-stricken tone that agitated a few others. From how she spoke and Rena being synonymous with being the most cowardly of the Octid, the six kept an eye on her, hoping she wouldn't be the first to pass out. As time went on, it would be shown that their resolve was unwavering. They were in the presence of their life mate first off, and secondly, exhaustion dictated weakness, and they did not want words spoken before their entrance to fall short, not now, at least as they had everything in their hands. Though there were tiny cracks in their spells, Conan still believed in conserving every ounce of mana he had within his being. His eyes fell back on Hurit, who let out a devastating growl rattling his bones. The light phased inside Hurit's stomach, calming her raspy breathing and the baby inside. The nurses were helping maintain the mother's physical being, and the elderly doctor was attempting to pull the baby from the outside gently. That gruesome hour may have been the most challenging time of their lives, but that time has soon come to pass. Hurit was still gasping for air, having the other nurses clean her up from that ordeal while the doctor cradled the baby after cleaning her and covering her with a thick cotton cloth. The 8 mistresses were quietly celebrating in one area of the room at the success of the child's birth. But one thing was striking to the lot. Hurit's life energy was drastically plummeting. Conan sat on a chair, and his fingers crossed over one another while held up over his nose and mouth. His stare was solely on the baby in the arms of the doctor, waiting for something, anything. But what he would be gifted was not what he expected.